Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is a dev letter of Polyball. The dev letter series specifically targets early access games and gives the dev feedback, a little bit of feedback of how the game plays, where they can improve specifically, and some ideas for kind of feature sets that they can add to really draw attention to their game. But before I begin, I want to make sure you guys know that this key was obtained from the developer for the purposes of critical review. That won't change my opinion in any way, but I want to make sure you guys know that because of FTC guidelines, as well as the whole morals thing, you know? Now, on the surface, Polyball is an interesting mixture of genres. It's Super Monkey Ball meets a little bit of the old NES Marble Madness with a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog and Speed Racers intermixed in there at this point. So it is a little bit of a clash of all these genres, but it does work in several ways. Now, in the current build, there are 4 different sectors. They all have about 10 levels each in them, as well as some miscellaneous levels, so you are getting about 50 to 60 levels from what I see. And they do have some good variety to them, although they do start to get repetitive in a little bit of ways towards like the middle sections of them, although they are introducing new mechanics. Now, each of these levels do have par times, scores, in terms of, leaderboards and things like that, in terms of world records as you see there. They just did get reset after this new build, so keep that in mind because they may do that during the actual development phase at this point. Now, the main goal in Polyball is to get to the end of the stage across the goal line, but you do have secondary objectives in terms of collecting points and, sort of trophies and things like that. Now, I would divide the levels in question into a couple different categories, and this category would be the speed category. So I'm basically racing along, trying as fast as I can to get to the end of the stage in question. Sometimes there are tricks for me to use, like, jumping off the edge here, sort of like a Rainbow Road situation, but I feel like the strongest element of this game is shown in this stage in question. The physics and the controls work rather well in terms of really giving you the feel of exactly what you need to do with Polyball. It feels like you're always in control and you can sort of master the controls in question to really get that extra second or two out of it. I really did appreciate the racing element of this game, despite the fact that I'm not really a racing fan, to be honest with you. On the flip side of it, you also have your finesse levels, those levels that will test your ability to control the ball and sort of systematically get through it. Using speed after a while may be an option, but the thing is right now, you really have to get accustomed to what the level is trying to teach you, going into straight lines and the use of the camera in question. Now, I do want to sort of stop and talk to the developers here. I do like these levels, but one thing I will have to say is your graphical style. Now, simple graphics do work in several cases, and I think Polyball is an example of this in several elements like the sort of forest levels. But when you get to this mountain volcano level, I understand you're trying to go for maybe a volcano theme in terms of like a white, almost like a molten lava kind of situation, but the entire white backdrop here really hurts the eyes. Brown and white, in my opinion, don't go together, and in particular, there's so much attention drawn to the white that the brown almost gets lost in it at this point. Your eyes feel assaulted, and unfortunately that does distract from the action. Adding a hint of red to it may help that along at this point, just so that people don't feel like they're getting really hurt by the aesthetic there. I know some people are going to have real problems with this game just because it almost may cause motion sickness the way that it's sort of designed because of this. Now, I do like elements of Polyball in terms of like the exploration here. As you see there, I'm going for a trophy here, which is off the beaten path. A lot of the times you have to sort of, either go completely out of the way or, it's right in front of you, you just don't know how to get there. Now, where the game probably does its best is its level design, and in particular, the campaign level design, where you're going through one mission at a time and sort of learning the new mechanics as you go along, teaching the player in good ways on how to deal with these situations. In this level, in the Triangles of Doom, you're sort of introduced to these triangles, and you're starting to learn that, okay, wait a minute, the way that the triangles are set up and the sort of gravity effect on the ball, that, moving in terms of speed is going to affect how the ball moves. Like, okay, the way that it's angled is going to cause me to slant to a certain side if I am picking up a lot of speed. If I'm going slow, that's not going to be a problem. Now, the strongest element besides the level design is your motion. I want you to sort of take those elements and take them to the next level. Now, we do see elements where you play with the physics, like you have water, for example, where it is an insta-kill, but you sort of float on the water and it obviously affects your gravity. Doing something like, let's say, for example, adding a tar element to the game where if you hit the tar, you slow down. Maybe make that an element in the game so that you can, go down a hill at fast speeds and you have to hit that tar to slow down in order to make a certain jump. That kind of stuff does really affect the motion of the game, where I think your game does the strongest, and playing with that motion and playing with the user expectations in terms of controls could work very, very well, because I do think that's one of the strengths of something like Super Monkey Ball or Marble Madness. Play with those elements, cause them to be a little bit out of line, but still basic at their core, and really mess with the user, but make the user appreciate it as well. Where I think Polyball's improvements really need to come from is more so about this sort of, I don't want to say bells and whistles, but more so the sort of, flashiness of the experience in question, because your core experience is good. Again, the racing elements and the sort of, precise physics elements of the game does rather well. I think it's taking those elements and sort of adding the elements on top of them to really improve the experience in the whole, to bring in that entire user base that would like this kind of game. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take an example for the camera. The camera is good on its own. So for example, whether you're using the Steam controller or whether you're using a controller like the Xbox 360 controller, when you're moving the camera left to right, it feels like the perfect spot in terms of the rotation in question when moving it around the ball. It's not too sensitive, but it's also not too slow either. I also like the ability to hit the right bumper to be able to step behind the ball in question in the direction that you're going to. But then it's the next level. Add a left trigger and right trigger option to snap the camera 45 degrees in one direction. The reason being is that there are certain jumps like you saw there where I need to turn around rather quickly at this point. Now I can hit the right bumper, but sometimes it doesn't make sense for the location that I'm moving to, especially with the angles of these sort of, platforms here. Sometimes that left trigger and right trigger would really, really help while allowing me to keep the speed up, which will really affect how I'm enjoying the game in question. So little elements like that will definitely improve your game in terms of like bringing in that user base that may have played your game before, but now they're really sold because they're able to see people really take on the speed elements of your game and take it to the next level. Those who master the game will draw in more attention, being like, oh hey, look at what you can do in that game. That's pretty cool. Let me see what I can do next with it. In addition to that polish, it's stuff like being able to know where you need to go. All right, obviously I'm in a level that's very, very unique, very, very different, and obviously has a very good visual style to it, just with the, every little thing going on with it. But I don't know actually where I need to go. I'm assuming I need to go up in order to get to the where of the goal is, but I actually don't know. Adding like an R3 button hit to be able to point you to where the goal is at times, while it may take away exploration elements of the game, which you could always disable in certain levels, in this level it would tell me exactly where I need to go, and I'm not just, riding around wondering where exactly I need to go, hoping that I get to the right spot rather than knowing that I'm getting to the right spot. It's, again, those little elements that I think your game needs that will take it to that next level and really sell it at this point. Your game's core, again, is good, but it needs the shine. It needs the bells and whistles, because a good game is not only a game that has a solid foundation, but it's every element of the game takes it to the next level and actually adds upon what has been built on before. Also, things like this, being able to fall forever, I don't see the point. I mean, great. It's cool to see, free falling and things like that, but not all the time. User guidance, I think, is the weakness of your game. So, for example, this sort of racing segment here, I'm racing towards this finish line here, and I'm obviously lap 1 of 3. Wait, 0 of 3? Wait, wrong way? You spawn the person behind the finish line in question, and they immediately think, oh, that's where I need to go, and I need to, race around the track in question. Very similar to games like Mario Kart, or any racing game for that matter, with a start line in question. To have them go towards the line and then, find out that it's the wrong way, not very good in user guidance, and that shows up several times with the exploration elements of the game, as well as just sort of the user feedback and information in the game. In the tutorial section of the game, you will have those, signs that come up, but they only come up at that specific location. Like, so for example, if you're speeding along and you see the sign will go whizzing past you at that point, and you may not have seen what the information the game had to show you at that point. So it is sort of a weird balance there. It's cool that you added it into the sort of environment in question, but you need more information given to the user rather than it being a cool effect per se. So again, little changes like that will help bring the user base and maybe not turn them off, especially with Steam refunds where they may be like, okay, I'm not willing to, see if the game has more to offer at this point. In terms of the customization of the ball, I do like some of the effects that you have and the ability to buy them with the things that you find, the collectibles in the game in question. Now, your color scheme portion, the primary, secondary, interior, doesn't seem to work, at least from what I saw. And I do want to say that, textures, effects, and models, that's all cool and whatnot. You do have a circular ball in a marble-like fashion. Play off that. Maybe make it an 8-ball or make it a, marble from Marble Madness, for example. Obviously, you got to be careful about copyrights and whatnot. But, play off that a little bit. I do like, being able to add the certain effects to it. But in particular, the color portion, get that working, like, right away. It wasn't obvious how to get it to work. And if it is not working, that should be your first focus, because I think the color portion, especially for people who, may need that visual element to it, will really improve the experience for them. Now, overall, I think that Polyball is a solid game in terms of where it is in early access. There's definitely a fun factor that the game has that not other early access games have at this point. They're still trying to figure out its mechanics. They're still trying to figure out its base gameplay, but I don't think that's the case with Polyball. I think the core gameplay is good. It just needs that sort of flash in order to be seen by the gaming community, as well as for other YouTubers and, reviewers to pick it up and look at it and be like, oh, hey, this is something new. This is something interesting. Let's take a look at it. Now, you're going to have a little bit of a problem getting people to necessarily look at it right away because of its graphical style. Even though you're in a 3D space and we see a lot of pixel artwork and a lot of things like that, it doesn't have that visual flash at times, which unfortunately does make a difference in terms of appeal for people. So in the end, for people who are looking for racing elements of games, and in particular sort of that Super Monkey Ball feel, I think Polyball does do the job right now. And if it is added to more and added a little bit more sort of creative levels like this one, for example, where you move around and the camera's, sort of affecting how the rotation of the actual, platforms that you're on, are actually affecting gameplay, I think the game is going to be a winner in the end, especially for $15. All right, this is Dragonix signing out. I hope you guys got an idea of exactly what Polyball has to offer, and I hope the devs did get an idea of exactly where I think the game is and where I think it can be improved. Anyway, this is Dragonix signing out. I hope you guys got an idea of what Polyball has to offer, and for the devs out there, I hope you guys got an idea of where I think your game can go in terms of future development. Again, I always take feedback, so leave your comments in the comment section below, and also leave your comments for the developers in question and where you think the game could be improved, or what you like about the game, or whether you've played it or not. Again, I always do content like this, so hit that subscribe button if you want more content like this as well. And again, if you like this video, hit that like button. It helps in terms of search ranking, as well as the whole, being seen on YouTube thing to make a career out of this. All right, I will see you all later, and have a good day. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to see more of it, you may want to hit that subscribe button on the left-hand side. If you like this video and want to see more of this content, take a look at this video on the left-hand side as well. And if you missed my last video, take a look at the right-hand side. Once again, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.